Hi there, hope you're doing well. I wanted to film a little video today about my journaling process because at the beginning of the year I started keeping a physical notebook again, and I've been planning digitally, I would say, for the past 2 to 3 years. I used to keep a bullet journal before then, but I haven't had like a physical notebook in quite a while, especially when it comes to my planning. I've kind of gone on and off commonplacing for a few years now in this traveler's notebook, and I've come back to it just a couple of months ago. So I really just wanted to talk about it. It's something that I'm really passionate about, and I could literally hear people talk about for ages and talk about for ages myself. So I kind of have the impression this might be a longer video, so grab yourself something to drink. I've just made myself a cup of tea and we're just gonna have a bit of a chat about it. It's quite a simple system that I have going on, but I thought I would share it, even though I've really only been using it for like 4 or 5 weeks, and I initially wanted to wait a little bit longer to share it because I thought it's inevitably going to change, but then if it does, I'll just make an updated version, I guess. So the system I have is a traveler's notebook system. I'll leave some resources in the description in case you don't really know how that works, but essentially I have the black cover with the zipper pouch insert. I use this a lot. I got this back in the day when I first got my cover, which was like 3 or 4 years ago maybe, and you can tell that it's quite, I don't know how well you can tell on camera, but it is quite like ruined and scratched and everything because I have it in my bag all the time. But the zipper pouch insert, I would say, is very, very useful because whenever I'm out and about and I bring my notebook with me, I can just put a pen and a pencil in here, and then I don't have to bring like an extra pencil case with me, which is very, very useful. And also I travel a lot between my place and my parents' place, and so it's very handy. Even if like I want to edit videos and stuff, I can just put my SD cards and my card reader in here as well. I don't have to have an extra pouch for that as well. And also I use this side a bit less. I keep some spare paper that I don't really use a lot, or like I accidentally ripped some washi tape the other day, so I stuck it here. But I'd say what I use this the most for is just if I'm out and about and I get like a flyer for something, or like yesterday I went to a museum and I got a ticket, I'll put them in here so they don't get ruined in my bag, and then eventually if I want to stick them somewhere, then I will. So that's just kind of what I use that for. And then the setup I have going on is with 2 notebooks. So the first one is my planner, and it's the January to June notebook in the weekly plus memo insert from the Travels Company, which is very similar in terms of layout to the Hobonichi weeks, if you're more familiar with that system. And then the second book I have in here is just a plain notebook that I use as my Commonplace book. So I'll kind of get more in depth about both of them, but I want to take them out of the cover just because it's easier to flip through them. So the cover does have one bookmark string, I guess, that I use for my weeks, and then for my Commonplace book I just keep a paper clip to mark the page that I'm on. So I'll just slide these out, and then they're connected by this elastic that you can also get from the Travels Company. So I'll start with my planner. This is quite recent for me. I've always really liked the idea of this book. Like I've seen it for years, and even I'm not sure if back in the day when I was bullet journaling it was really around just yet, but definitely when I was planning digitally at the very beginning at least, I've always really liked this kind of layout. But I've tried it before, like drawing it in my own notebooks and stuff, and it never really worked for me, or at least I couldn't really figure out how to make it work for me, and so I never committed to really buying the actual insert, even though I did already have the cover for my notebook. Like I've had this for a good few years, and I've used it for sketchbooks, I've used it for all sorts of things, especially Commonplace books, I would say, which I'll get more into later. But then at the beginning of this year, I really wanted to move back to a notebook for planning, because I feel like I've been using Notion for like 2 or 3 years at this point, and I feel like digital is great for like long-term planning and complex projects because I really like the flexibility that it has for that. But when it comes to my daily lists, what I was doing was moving things around from day to day all the time, and essentially I wasn't getting anything done because it was so easy to just be like, okay, I'll do this tomorrow, and then I would have no trace of the fact that I'd moved it and kind of procrastinated doing that. And I really wanted to have that like visually somewhere to remind myself that I wasn't getting stuff done. And I don't want to like promote an unhealthy productivity thing, but it's just like I was writing a stupid amount of tasks for me to be able to do within a day. Like, it just wasn't realistic, and then nothing was actually ending up getting done. It just didn't really make sense. And so I wanted to move back to a notebook, and I saw Megan Rehannon's video on how she uses the Hobonichi weeks, and she's had a bunch of different systems in the past before, and I love her videos. I'll definitely leave her channel link below. She's amazing. But I saw that she was using this running to-do list setup. So obviously it's not the same notebook, but the layout, as I said, is very similar. So she has a running to-do list on this side, and the thing about this is you can kind of keep track of what you've done each day. So the way that I write it, and I'll show you this week's, because I've kind of added an extra day. I started writing it only until Saturday at the beginning, because I thought I'm not going to be doing work on Sundays, but then there's like some personal stuff in here as well, and I find myself needing Sunday as well, so I just added that in. But basically I have a column for each day on this side, and then I write down my to-do list for the week, and I write it down separated into 3 sections. This is something I used to have back in Notion as well. And so I have anything art related, so anything painting related, anything to do with the shop or social media goes in here. And then I have university stuff and personal things. And then at the bottom is just extra things that I decide to do that are not part of my main priorities for the week. And ideally, I wouldn't add anything here before I complete all of the rest of my tasks for the week, but realistically, when inspiration strikes, you've just kind of got to go with it, and so that's not really happening. So I've added a few things this week, but it's been working really well actually, and I just use I use a bit of a weird system for this, admittedly, but basically whenever I complete a task, I'll just put an X. For things that just need to be done and then they're finished, like editing a video, I put like half across or like a slash if I've only done part of the task and I haven't finished it, and I'll cross it off once it's done, and I'll draw a line to just kind of cross it off for the rest of the week, so I don't have to keep checking whether I have to do it for the day as well. But then there are other things like filming this week's video that I want to kind of film a bit every day, and so I'll use the slash if I've only filmed a little bit, and I will use a cross if I've filmed a lot. I don't know if I'll keep doing that, but that's just kind of what I'm doing. And then same thing for studying. I want to be studying both of these subjects every day because I have 2 exams coming up, so I just use the same system. And then for like tasks here at the bottom that I've only added in at the, like midway through the week, I'll cross off the beginning as well, just to mark that, those have been added in later on. And then for anything that is more day specific, so that isn't just something that I want to get done within the week or something that I want to be doing every day like it is studying, I'll write it down in the actual day section. So like appointments, my bookings for the gym and that kind of stuff, or like today I want to work on some gouache doodles. I want to do some more of these. These were on my desk from earlier. But I want to do some more of that, so I've just put it in yesterday night. And that's really most of what it is. I think it's quite simple. It looks more complicated than it is, and it's harder to explain than it actually is to use, I suppose. And then I wasn't really sure what I wanted to do with this bottom section here, because I don't really want to do any kind of journaling in here, because I do that in my Commonplace book, so it doesn't really make sense to just repeat things twice. So what I've decided, and what I'm doing for now at least, is I'm just writing a list of stuff that I want to film for my weekly videos. So like yesterday I went to a museum and I had a few ideas for clips that I wanted to film like beforehand. And so I just kind of planned that out, and then I crossed things off as I was going, and stuff like that. We'll see if it keeps working or if I have other ideas of how I can use this space, but that's just kind of, what I'm using it for right now. And then the stickers that I'm using at the moment, I'll leave the Etsy shop that I've bought them from like on the screen and linked below. She's got some really, really cool stuff. Definitely going to order more. So last week sort of was a bit of a mess, admittedly. I had a massive exam that really took all the energy out of me, but I think this is probably like the one I liked best, but I wasn't using stickers at the time just yet, and I think it's just a lot of text and it was a bit overwhelming, so I thought I'm just going to buy some stickers. So hopefully it helps, and I've really been enjoying it. So that's how I'm using my weeks at the moment. They do also have like some monthly pages at the beginning that I've written down like some birthdays in and stuff, but I really don't use these pages much. I like the fact that in the Hobonichi weeks, I think they have the like big calendar spread with the squares for each day. I think maybe I would use that a bit more, but I'm not very much of a like full month calendar view person. I do really like the week, but I think I wouldn't really use the month anyways. So this is working fine for me at the moment, and that's about it for this notebook. I'll keep you updated if anything changes. And then for my Commonplace book, this is just, as I said, a really random plain notebook. It's not from the Travels Company. I bought a set of like 3 or 5 of these a few years ago, and I just had this laying around. So like the first page is like a book review that I wrote a couple of years ago, but I just, decided to use it. It just had 1 page written in. It didn't feel right to throw it away. But this is another one. I don't know why I colored the cover. I think I'd written some stuff on it. But this is another one from the same series, and this was my old Commonplace book that I kept last year. I don't know why I stopped using it, but it's something that I used to have back when I was in England. So I kept one for like 7 or 8 months, and then I kept one for a few months when I moved here last year. And I don't know why I stopped doing that, because it's very helpful for me when I have it. But I don't know, hopefully it sticks this time, because it really, really helps me when I do use it. So the way that I use this is for basically anything. So any kind of journaling that I might want to, write in, any information that I want to collect. These are some quotes that I wrote down. Like yesterday, I went to the museum and I wrote some thoughts about it. This is more like a journal entry type thing, or like memory keeping as well. But also I was trying to figure out some art related things, and so I did a spread about it. So basically just any brainstorming, any thinking that I have to go through, writing things down and like visualizing things really, really helps me. And I've tried doing that digitally. It doesn't work as well for me, so I'm really glad that I switched back to a notebook, because this works a lot better. It just kind of goes in here, and I carry this around with me pretty much everywhere. So like I found out a new tea that I like and I stuck that in, and this is like cutouts from the zine that I really used recently, or like I went skiing the other day and I put that in. But then there's like thoughts about stuff, or like recording things. One of my favorite bands is releasing a new album, so I just kind of wrote that down. I wrote down information about the art exhibition that I wanted to go see, that I actually went to yesterday. So there's all sorts of stuff in here, uni things as well. The only thing that I think is missing at the moment is like a coding system. So I really, really had a couple of pages that I wanted to mark to be able to refer back to. So one was this uni page that was my revision list for the exam that I took last week, the week before, I really can't remember. And then the other one that I marked was this, because it was like brainstorming stuff for the shop. But I need to figure out a different way. Like, I guess I kind of already have. I ordered some sticker dots that I'm going to use at the beginning of each entry to just mark what the entry is about. And this is something that I've seen a bunch of people do, and I think it's probably the smartest way to do it. But you just kind of use a color code to, code different things. So I might just have one for collected text, and one for like personal entries, one for university things, one for art shop brainstorming stuff, and probably that's about it, even though I think I ordered 5 colors. Good to have extra, I guess. But yeah, I'll just put like a key at the beginning so I know what each color means, and then I'll tag each entry accordingly. I've already started drawing margins for that, just so I would have space for it, and I was doing it because I thought I'd keep using the tape method, but honestly, it's a bit annoying because it goes across 2 pages, and so like this really just refers to this spread, but I didn't put it on both sides, and it goes over to this spread as well, so it doesn't really make much sense to me. So yeah, I'll just move to the sticker dot thing, and I'll show you in videos once I receive them. But that's kind of about it. I don't really know how to explain commonplacing. I guess it's more like an everything book. It's not necessarily just a commonplace book in the traditional sense of it, which I guess is more for collecting information strictly, rather than actual brainstorming and journal entries and more personal things. I use this as literally my everything journal, and it's very, very useful. Also because it just allows me to remember things. I kind of do some memory keeping in here as well, even though I do have a separate journal that I use to keep photos in. So at the end of each month, I'll just print out a bunch of photos and stick them in with like the date and description and stuff. So I don't really print out photos to put in here, but I kind of keep everything else, like the receipts or tickets or flyers or whatever it might be that I want to keep. So it is a form of memory keeping in a way, I suppose. And really, that's about it. I think I've been talking for like 15 minutes now. My tea's probably gone cold. No, it's not. I'll drink it as soon as I stop recording. But that's about it. It's been working really well. I'm curious to see how it evolves, because I'm sure it will. And especially, I think, within the first few months when you're really like trying to figure things out, it's really easy for this kind of notebook to change a lot, and at least in my experience that I've had in the past. But it's been really interesting. It's been working really, really well. I'm very happy, especially with this kind of to-do list, which I also found out last week. I was talking about the planning system with a friend of mine, and she was like, I've been using that for months and it works really well. And I was like, oh, I'd never seen it before from anyone. So it was really cool stumbling upon this, and I'm glad that I did, because it's working much better than digital planning was before. So I feel like this was a bit of a chaotic explanation, but I don't really know how to explain things. Like, it makes sense in my head. I hope it makes sense in yours as well. But yeah, I hope it was helpful to some people. I will probably make like an updated version of the video once the system changes, and maybe it will change in like a month, and maybe it will in a year. So we'll see how that goes. But for now, I wanted to start sharing it just because I feel like it might be helpful to some people in the meantime, and also it's something that I genuinely really like talking about. So felt like making this video. I hope it was helpful for you. I hope you enjoyed watching it, and that's about it. If you have any questions, leave them below. I'll be happy to answer them. And I hope you're doing well. I wish you all a very, very lovely week, and I will see you very soon with a new video. Bye!